everybody, this is Chris and this is Barn on 11970. Thank you as always for taking the time to check out one of my videos. And this is an older article. I think it came out around 2004, but it is to me very relevant, especially if you're not familiar with the story. Some of you will be if you've been watching my channel for a while or been researching this kind of stuff for a little bit, because this came out a couple years ago. But it shows how mainstream media is no longer investigating stories. They basically regurgitate what they're told. That's why no matter what channel you flip to on the television, they are programming you. That's why you're watching television programming by reading basically cue cards. In other words, somebody writes it up, they read it off a cue card. They're not investigating, they're not asking questions. Because if that was the case, you would go to different channels and there would be different reports. They wouldn't basically be saying the same thing. But it also shows how they can take something that is utterly ridiculous and try and spin it into something where when the average person reads it, they'll say, oh, I guess it must be true because I read it in the news. Now, obviously, the Denver Post isn't MSNBC, but I just want to find one at least that shows that it's a newspaper article. Now, as you could see on the bottom part of the screen, it says, under investigation, American Title CEO dead in grisly suicide. Now, I'm going to read some of it. Obviously, I'm not going to read all of it, so I will post a link in the description below. But check out how this person supposedly, quote-unquote, committed suicide. And they actually write this stuff. So I'm going to read a little bit of it. The founder and CEO of American Title Services in Sentinel was found dead in his home this week. Get this, the result of self-inflicted wounds from a nail gun. Now, Richard Talley, 56, and the company he founded in 2001 were under investigation by state insurance regulators at the time of his death late Tuesday. An agency spokesman confirmed Thursday. Let's scroll down. It says, a coroner's spokeswoman Thursday said Talley was found in his garage by a family member who called authorities. They said Talley died from 7 or 8 self-inflicted wounds from a nail gun fired to his torso and head. Now, what an interesting way to die. Just imagine somebody shooting themselves several times with a nail gun. First of all, that's going to be incredibly painful. It's going to be incredibly long before you pass away, because unless you know exactly where to hit, I mean, obviously, if this guy did it 6, 7 times, or actually 7 or 8 times, obviously he wasn't hitting any key areas. So you'd think after like the 4th time, he would probably think that was not a good idea. But this is what mainstream media does. I mean, this is written down for all people to check. And like I said, you could check, there are so many different other places where this article came out. I just happened to pick one of them. And I wanted one at least from a mainstream news media, not somebody from some quote-unquote truther channel where you could just say, oh, they made it up. This was in the Denver Post. Now, how many of you out there that are free thinkers, that have the capability of thought other than what you're programmed, how many of you actually think that this person committed suicide by inserting a nail, 7 to 8 of them, in his head and torso? Or do you think he was murdered? Now, obviously I wasn't there, so I don't know what really happened. But if you go by logic alone, it would suggest at least checking into foul play. But if you notice the article, they say he committed suicide via nail gun. No investigation. And what a coincidence, he just happens to work for a division that has to do with insurance. Possible fraud, or maybe he was going to give up information. So you'll see all these CEOs and minor players, but strong enough to get information out, or hide some money or things like that, but not high enough up to cause any major problems if they're gone. How these people all commit suicide, and the news media never questions it. They just go with what they're told. And the problem is, most people, and probably 99% of the people, still watch mainstream media news to get their information, when they don't realize when it comes to free will, you are allowed to do pretty much anything that you want, even the wrong thing or nothing. But no one could force you to do something. but they can trick you. They can convince you. They can bribe you. They can scare you. But ultimately, you make the choice. Like I've said in examples before, think of it like you being in a maze and they can't directly tell you what direction to go, but they can change the walls around. They could put obstacles in your way. Like, for example, if you're headed trying to get out to the exit of the maze and you're going in the right direction, well, they can't tell you to turn around. But what if all of a sudden they build a fire that blocks the way? Or they put a bunch of guard dogs there and you volunteer to run the other way? Or they just change the walls around. So the more people understand this stuff, and this is why I'm showing this news article, is to show that when you read this article, it will not be talking about we need to question it, or that sounds strange that somebody would try and commit suicide with a nail gun 7 or 8 times. But they just report it as up. They said it's suicide, so that's what we're going to go with. Is that investigative reporting? Or is that just preaching the propaganda and programming the people? Because how many of you, and tell me in the comment section, how many of you actually knew about this story? Please put that in. Either you did hear of it or you've never heard of it. So obviously, this is not something that becomes anything big. They put a small article in. They hope most people don't pay attention to it, browse past it, make it into not such a big deal, and they get away with potential murder of somebody who may have had information. Now, obviously, like I said, I don't know. I can't sit there. It's all I can do is speculate. But it seems very odd to me, and it doesn't seem like a normal thing that somebody would want to kill themselves in such a painful, drawn-out way. Somebody being murdered that way, I could see that more likely to be the case. So if you go by the odds, do you think the odds are that somebody would commit suicide in this way as more likely, or somebody murdering them in that way more likely? Now, of course, 100% of the people can say, oh, the person was murdered. That doesn't guarantee that actually happened. But it just doesn't add up. And when you see mainstream media news, you get these beautiful people that you look at as far as women are concerned. They're wearing revealing dresses most of the time, all dolled up. And they have the older gentlemen who are supposed to look like the grandfather figure, somebody you can trust. And all they do is read cue cards. They do not investigate. And that's originally what the news media was supposed to be. It was supposed to be an unofficial fourth branch of the government to keep the politicians in check. But now they don't ask important questions. I mean, look at how many videos I post on my channel revealing things that I am sure many a news person could find. And I guarantee you, if you, for example, if you all, I actually want to do an experiment. And this is something where I'm going to need your help. Take my video that says the truth about the United States law and use the extended version. I want you to copy and paste that link on, let's just pick one Facebook or Twitter page, MSNBC, and tell them, please watch this. I guarantee you it will either be deleted or ignored. So if they are truly investigative reporters and they see a title about the truth about the United States, that's something I would want to investigate. Now, that doesn't mean they have to believe what I say, but if they are investigative reporters, shouldn't they at least check into it? And if they found something, that would be something worth and worthy of reporting on, wouldn't it? So if they choose to ignore it, and let's say of my 20,000 subscribers, let's say only 100 of them share it and post it on MSNBC's social media. Are you telling me if they saw the same article 100 times from 100 different people that they would ignore something? Especially if you tell them this is something they have to investigate? So that would pretty much prove it right there. At least they say, oh, well, we'll look into it. If they don't respond at all, that's not being an investigative reporter. So that's all I'm going to talk about in this one. I just wanted to show this article. Like I said, I will post the link in the description below, so check it out. You can even Google it, man commits suicide with nail gun, and you'll see unlimited amount of articles on it. I wonder how many of the mainstream media ones actually question it instead of just saying that's fact. When in essence, unless they were there, they don't know. But they're not questioning it because they're doing what they're told. So if you still watch mainstream media news, you're getting entertainment because they even label themselves now as the entertainment business. It's scary how many people still take that as news. Thanks for watching, guys. Leave your comments, hit subscribe, hit the like button, and share this information. And please take that video that I talked about and go on MSNBC. The reason I'm not just picking on them, I just don't want it to be where people are sending them in all different places. I want them all in one place, so this way it makes it harder for them to ignore. Unless they choose to. So thanks for watching.